10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 276. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 276 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. As always, we are thrilled to have you back for another episode. This is going to be our Tune of the Month episode, and we're going to be taking a look at a great composition called I Hear a Rhapsody, which I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with. But before we jump into the show, just a reminder that we are a listener-supported podcast, which means that we do not do advertisements on this show. We rely on people just like you that are listening to the podcast to support us each and every month. And for a small fee, you can get all of the materials that we talk about, including PDFs in every single key and a lot of other benefits. And you can find that by going to our Patreon page. That is a website where you can support us directly. You can find that by going to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up, and you get instant access to all of the materials over there, including this week's episode. So if you like the etude from this week, go sign up and you get the instant download of that etude. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to our new patrons this week. Thank you to our new $3 patron, John. Thank you to our two new $5 patrons, Josh and Jose. And thank you so much to William for editing their pledge up to $10 a month. That is very, very generous, and we really appreciate that. Again, those are the things that keep this show coming at you in high quality week in and week out. 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up today. All right, let's jump into today's episode. So we've been talking about triads for the past 2 months, and we've really gone in depth. I've given you a bunch of different exercises, ranging from very simple to, in the last couple episodes, actually really complicated exercises. So hopefully you're somewhere in that process of starting to be able to develop that fluency and that ability to play triads pretty freely. That's kind of the whole point of everything that we've been talking about over the past about 8 weeks when it comes to triads. So this episode is kind of the cherry on top, right? Last week we talked about putting some of these triadic patterns that we practiced over 2-5-1s and a little bit of the theory behind that. Now you're going to see some of those 2-5-1 patterns, but actually in a bigger context, right? So in the context of an etude, 2 choruses over a 32 bar form, which is I Hear a Rhapsody. So we already mentioned that this is a 32 bar form. It is AABA, and you will notice that this tune is in the key of concert E flat. So if you look at the A sections of I Hear a Rhapsody, there's this really nice play going on between concert E flat major and relative minor of concert C minor. So I want you to go in there and sort of analyze what's going on with those changes. It's actually pretty simple. At this point, you all should be able to figure out kind of what's going on and be able to analyze where that form is taking us. Now, when we get to the bridge, we're actually going to the key of concert G minor, and we're doing a little play on that. And then we end up in the key of concert B flat major, and then that brings us back to the key of concert C minor at the end for that last A section. So I want you to do a little bit of analyzing on the chords so that you sort of know what's coming at you, and then you can learn the etude and you can start to analyze the etude. So I want to talk about the etude just really quickly before we listen to it. And what I've done is in several places throughout this etude, I'd say probably 4 to 5 places in the etude, I have used the patterns that we talked about, the orders of playing major triads exactly as we've talked about in the past bunch of episodes. So you're going to find examples of these major triads in certain iterations in this etude, and that's going to be your job to find those, figure out where they are and what I'm using. I'm not going to tell you where they are. I want you to find them yourself. So the first key to finding them is to figure out where it sounds like the melodic line is sort of clashing with the harmony that's going on underneath it. Remember, the whole point of using some of these triadic patterns is to create that tension and release. So what you want to do when you're listening is listen for the tension. It's going to be very, very evident where the harmony is going outside of traditional bebop playing and into the realm of some of those triadic patterns. So if you have the etude, print out the PDF and sit with a pencil. And when you're listening to this, I want you to just initially mark where you hear it potentially going way outside of the harmony. And that's going to be the most likely place where I'm using some of those triadic patterns. Okay, so that's step number one. Let's listen to the etude. And if you have the PDF, I want you to start to mark in where you hear it going outside of the harmony. And we'll start at that point. Quick little side note before I actually play the etude for you. I'm using a very different backing track this week. Normally I use my Band in a Box backing tracks, but this week I found this really, really cool channel that I've been using for my play-alongs, and I wanted to give him a quick shout out. These are solo bass backing tracks, and it's a real human being. It's an Italian bassist by the name of Mauro Sereno, and he is putting out awesome backing tracks. Now, if you're looking for, something besides the typical full rhythm section backing tracks and you want to actually play with a real human being, this is a great channel to check out. So check out Mr. Sunny Bass. I've really, really been enjoying using his backing tracks for a lot of my practicing these days. And you're going to actually hear it when I play the etude for you. This is straight from his channel. So thanks, Mr. Sunny Bass, for the awesome backing track. All right, let's get into the etude.
2, 3, 4, 1.
So you can hear that's 2 full choruses of material, a lot of material this week. And I'm sure you could hear a couple of points in there where it went way outside of the harmony and seemed to just kind of leave the traditional harmony behind completely. And that's kind of what we're doing when we use these triads in certain patterns, is we are just leaving that harmony. We're going and doing our own thing, although it is a calculated thing that we're doing. We're just kind of departing the harmony and playing our triad patterns, and then hopefully we're landing those triad patterns perfectly back in the harmony to create that really cool effect of tension and release. So now that you've gone through the first step of sort of marking where you think they are, then you want to dive into those actual patterns and figure out what I'm using. Am I using half step major triads, whole step major triads? Am I going major third triads? Am I doing minor third triads? A lot of those patterns that we talked about in the most recent episodes, that's what you should be looking for. Then you can pull those out, you can study them, you can use them as templates to write your own lines. This is going to give you some really interesting new sounds. At least that's kind of what I'm going for. All right. So hopefully this was helpful. Also, learn the melody to I Hear Rhapsody and memorize the chord changes. This is a great jazz standard that you can call on gigs. That does get called on gigs a lot. So this would just be a fantastic one to have in your arsenal. Remember, you can get the etude over at our Patreon site, 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up for your monthly donation, and you get instant access to actually all 276 episodes that we have ever done. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please put them in the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson community Facebook group, or you can always email me at 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. I hope that this series on triads has helped you in some way. If you're looking for that brand new sound in your playing, something else to think about, a more interesting way to play the harmony, I hope that this series has done something for you. Thanks again for listening. As always, I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy out there, and we will see you next week with some brand new episodes. Talk to you soon, everybody. Bye.